Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of What's on My Desk. Now you may be wondering why I am in a blockade of a bunch of boxes. It's because today's episode I decided to dedicate to something that's also very special that comes alongside with purchasing fancy watches, and that is its packaging. So spoiler alert, no watches in this episode, but nevertheless I will show you some kick-ass boxes. And I'm gonna try to get some of the stuff out of my way so you can see me and I can actually go through box by box. So let me slide this guys over to the side here. Put this guy here. And this guy here. Now you can see me. Nice. Anyway, I'm going to start things off fairly simple by showing you a not so simple, but yet a beautiful perpetual box from Audemars Piguet. Right away, you'll notice a very familiar lacquered wood finish on all these boxes. And as I open the box up, you'll notice the insides. This is what AP does in terms of a perpetual box. This is where the batteries goes into. And once you put your watch in, you press a button, that thing will turn. I don't have any batteries in it right now for me to show you that. This is where the paperwork would go from the watch. And this is the key to the actual box. So you can actually lock the box. I mean, I don't know what the purpose of that is. If somebody decided to steal it, they'll just pick up the box with the watch and walk away with it. It's not extremely difficult to pop this box open. This is more of a gimmick, not a security thing, because, I mean, you can pop this thing open with a screwdriver.
That's just a kryptonite lock. You can open those with a big pin.
Nevertheless, beautifully executed, nice leather on the inside. This is padded here. All the stuff is glued together quite nice. Overall, just aesthetically beautiful box and a very functional box. So if you're out there and you have a perpetual watch and you don't wear it for a few months, you don't have to go back and set the month, the date, the moon phase, etc., etc. Speaking of AP, I'm going to go a little bit fancier and talk to you about fancy use of materials. This is from a watch called the Merida. It was made for the Japanese market as a limited edition. My wife owns the full diamond piece, which I gave to her when she gave birth to our third child. And the reason I wanted to show you this is because of how this watch is made. Look at this beautiful box. It's extremely heavy. If you look at the watch itself, it actually mimics the watch because the watch itself has sort of these rose gold bubbles on the dial of the watch. And this is made entirely of lucite. Let me show you a close-up. Of course, in the front, you'll notice the plaque that says Millionaire Limited Edition by Merida. You'll notice a signature on this box. Every one of these boxes signed by the designer of the Japanese Audemars Piguet boutique in Ginza, a gentleman by the name of Yasumichi Morita, hence the name of the watch, Merida. All the hardware in the box, to include the clasp, to include the plaque, as well as the hardware in the back, is also depicted in that rose gold color. I believe this is rose gold plated, as well as the pieces inside the box. Overall, this is a beautiful piece of art as far as I'm concerned. It's a heavy set lucite piece. My wife keeps this box on the dresser inside her closet on display because this thing is definitely a pleasure to look at. I'm gonna pop this back in. And speaking of lucite boxes, another company that did something recently out of lucite was Hublot. You guys see me recently purchased the Hublot Sapphire that I showed you on one of the episodes, and the box that it comes with is also completely see-through and made out of lucite. Pretty cool looking. Next, I'm going to switch gears and talk about something different, and that is watches that are made for someone. Again, I'm picking AP because AP made a slew of watches for different individuals, and one of the individuals that they made a watch was Shaquille O'Neal. If you remember the limited edition back in the day, they made it in steel as well as white gold with a diamond bezel. So what do you think the box is going to look like for that particular watch? Well, you probably either already know or guessed it. It's going to be a basketball. How cool is this box? Look at this thing. Yes, it is a wooden basketball. If you open the box up, pop that open, you'll notice this is where the watch goes. And let me show you a quick close-up on that. You have your watch that goes in on the right, Shaquille O'Neal's signature, along with his number, as well as the big number 32 on the other side. If I had to store a watch that was made for a basketball player, this would be the way I would do it. Definitely a slam dunk AP. Careful not to drop this, because this thing will break. And speaking of AP, let's talk about a little bit of gambling. And this is where this box comes in. A while back, Audemars Piguet made a limited edition for an authorized dealer in Las Vegas called the Las Vegas. They made a men's offshore chronograph as well as a tourbillon and a ladies diamond encrusted watch. And it came in a box that looked like this. Right off the bat, you have your royal flush in the front. Tells you right away what to expect. And you guessed it, this is poker chips, which you can actually use. Again, key for security, which is not all that secure. You have your dealer button. You have a pillow that will allow you to display his and hers or just one watch on the pillow of the watch, as well as your clay poker chips. You know, every one of them says Audemars Piguet limited edition, and 2 decks of AP playing cards. Nothing fancy. What do they look like? Let's see. Audemars Piguet across the back and your regular playing cards in the front. Honestly, again, this is where companies go above and beyond to sort of go that extra mile. So when a client receives their timepiece, they're not just excited about the timepiece, but the packaging that comes alongside with it is just as impressive. Definitely a great move on AP's part. I'll set this guy aside. Oh, and all these boxes are extremely heavy, by the way. Let's see. Next, I'm going to talk about boxes that actually don't just look great and play the part, but also serve a functionality via some accessories. Now, let me start with this Girard Perregaux box. This, again, humongous box. Just open this guy up. And in the front, nothing special. Again, a place for you to simply store your watch. This part comes out. This is where the paperwork would go for the watch. But in the back of the lid, now because this was made for a GP opera watch, which has a grain chime and a small chime, this depicts the notes that the watch actually chimes, and that is going to be the one of Aaron Resonance. Now, I mentioned accessories. Let me open up this bottom drawer, and you'll see this unidentified object inside. Now, this is a storage bag for the watch if you decide to travel, but then you have this thing here, along with this thing. Now, what is this? Well, some may know, some may have no idea, and for those that have no idea, this is actually an amplifier for a minute repeating watch or a chiming watch such as the opera watch. You'll notice that there's 2 slits on either side of this wooden thing, and it's completely hollow inside. You can't really get the sound off this thing. Let me see if I can tap it against my mic. Maybe you kind of get an idea, but what this does is that when you lay the watch across this piece, it amplifies the sound of the chime and the minute repeater, which is a really cool concept, and I have no idea who came up with this concept first. Can you guys see me over there? I have no idea who came up with this concept first. However, lots of watch manufacturers out there, when they sell chiming watches or minute repeating watches, they give you a little bit of a gadget to allow for you to fully experience the sound of the chimes or the minute repeater. It really does amplify it. It amplifies it a lot. Again, I didn't bring these particular watches into this episode. It would just take forever, but you guys get the idea. And speaking of which, speaking of amplifiers, going back to my favorite brand, AP did it one time in a pretty grand way. And by grand, I mean in a grand piano way. Look at this thing. So obviously it looks like a piano, and the stuff that's moving inside I'll show you in a second. So this is made to look like an actual piano. When I open this up, it looks like a guitar. So it's sort of a combination of instruments. Now the stuff that was moving around inside is these little pieces. You'll notice the platform here. These particular, they always fall inside. It's such a pain to get them out afterwards. But these particular pieces, they adjust to the size of the watch. So as you put them around sort of this dial, it would allow you to sort of adjust to the diameter of the watch. Let me show you how this sounds. Let me get this out first. I guess it'll sound better. So this will give you an idea that once you put the minute repeater here, and the handle, by the way, here to make it stand up goes on top of the watch. There's a little soft piece at the tip of this, so it doesn't hurt the watch. Once you set that on top, you set the minute repeater off, you get wonderful, wonderful sound out of this. This is sort of a combination of a piano, violin, and a guitar. But let me tell you something, this is probably the best amplifier for a minute repeater watch out there today. These are all made in unique editions. They're all numbered. Again, you spend $400,000 on a minute repeater from Audemars Piguet, you get one of these guys. Super impressive. Again, somewhat biased. I love AP, but honestly, this is probably my favorite amplifier for a minute repeater out there. Now let me switch gears a little bit And let me show you that box that does not come from a watch. If you're one of the lucky customers of a particular brand, oftentimes you're able to get as a gift or maybe via special order a box to store your watches in. And here's one from Patek Philippe. This is not something that came with a watch. I'm not even sure if this was ever sold separately or if this was made for particular dealers to give away to clients as gifts upon purchase of particular watches, but I got my hands on a few of these. And all this is a beautiful storage box for your watches. This is an older style because it depicts the older style boxes. But if you have a big collection, especially of Patek Philippe's, what better way to display them than in a box such as this? And the best part about it is this lid actually comes off these hinges right here, and you can actually have your watches laying out on display like this. Potentially authorized dealers could have had this in their displays just the same. But for a personal collection, I can't see a better way to display your watches or store your watches or even travel with your watches as with a box such as this. Your Patek logo, it's actually not that thick in size, so you could potentially travel with this watch. This would fit into someone's briefcase. In the past, I've actually used one of these boxes to travel to a client to show them off a bunch of fancy watches, and not necessarily Pateks. I would put random watches in there. But this is a great travel box, a great display box, and if you're lucky to pick up one of these, it would definitely be a great addition to your collection outside just the watches themselves. Last but not least, I'm going to talk to you guys about this fella, and this guy weighs about 25 pounds. This is a box for a Roger Dubuis Knights of the Round Table limited edition, and I am going to talk about this watch in the next episode. I'm going to talk about some heavy hitters from Roger Dubuis. That's going to be one of the watches you will see on the next episode, so stay tuned. But for now, I'm going to show you the box. This thing is humongous. Get this lid off. And the reason I brought this box is I want to talk about accessories. A lot of companies out there will not just give you a watch, will not just give you a fancy box, but they'll give you accessories to go along with it, which may not necessarily be that useful, but this sure as hell is fancy. And me personally, as a watch guy, I love all the little trinkets that some of these watches come with. I have a bunch of trinkets from various different companies: compasses, polishing cloths, loops, ashtrays, ties, belts, I mean, you name it, handkerchiefs. There's so many different things that companies out there give you with purchase of watches that sometimes either come with a watch, which is just to give me if you're at the boutique buying something. And a lot of guys out there love to collect those little trinkets because technically they're priceless because you can't buy them. So notice right off the bat, you see this sort of imprinted on the felt. It's really not imprinted. It wasn't meant to be done that way. It's just because there's an emblem on the other side of this, and that is the Knights of the Round Table emblem. As I open this guy up, note the quality of the hardware, note the quality of the wood itself. I don't know if the camera can show that, or the leather that's on the inside. Right off the bat, you'll see this, which obviously is where the watch goes. But if I open this guy up, it's actually a jewelry box. You can store your cufflinks in here. You can store your wife's jewelry if you wanted to. There's plenty of storage space for everything and anything in the men's echelon of jewelry, whether it's ring, cufflinks, necklaces, etc. What's cool about this thing is, this is where the watch goes. What's cool about this particular part is this also comes out, and as I do this, and this, oops, tough to do this one hand. As I do this and lock this guy in, you realize that this becomes a fancy travel case for your watch, should you travel with your watch not on your wrist. Let me open that back up. And this, hold on. And this box actually comes out in its entirety, so you can actually travel with this entire thing along with your watch and your jewelry, which is actually pretty cool if you ask me. I talked about accessories, and the accessories are obviously going to be down here. As I open this up, you see a slew of various things in here that you say, well, what do I need all this stuff for? Well, this is actually a polishing kit for the leather strap that the watch comes in. You have some leather cream here, or polishing cream. You have a polishing cloth, and this, look at how they do it. I mean, they even put a little ring with Roger Dubuis around this polishing cloth. Was that really necessary? Not really, but again, they do it big. And this can actually be worn as a ring if it fits your finger. Fits mine anyway. Put this back in here. A little brush. And again, just look at the brush. I mean, they could have just put a brush in, but no, they're beautiful. They put a beautiful gold emblem on top of this brush. These are I know I'm not going to put this out, but this is actual instructions how to polish your strap, and a loop. If you want to admire your watch up close, you get a Roger Dubuis loop. And this is what I'm talking about. These little trinkets sometimes are priceless to watch collectors. They love this little stuff, and so do I. A polishing cloth for the watch itself, Obviously, this is a wallet where the instructions, the manual, and the paperwork of the watch will be. Now, let me close this so you guys can see me again. Here I am. So a beautifully executed box for a wonderful watch, an expensive watch at that. This watch is way over $200,000, and rightfully so. If you're going to make the most exclusive, the most complicated, the most coveted watches out there, the packaging is to match. We actually follow that suit here in the company. I went out to a manufacturer of boxes and I ordered a bunch of jewelry boxes and watch boxes with the logo of Luxury Bazaar on them. Now I could have ordered that from a much cheaper manufacturer where the boxes would end up costing me 20, 30, 40 cents. But I ended up ordering boxes that cost me upwards of $10 to $15. I know it doesn't sound like it's expensive, but when you're ordering thousands of them and you're taking a $15 box and you're putting it together with a piece of jewelry, let's say it sells for $150, kind of more or less doesn't make sense, increasing the cost of your product by 10%, but it does, because it's all about presentations. And these major manufacturers, they do it in a huge ways, as I just showed you. There's so many other boxes that I can show you that are so cool, and maybe I'll do another episode. If you guys like this one, comment below, let me know. But again, the point of this whole thing is that if you're gonna do it right, do it in a big way to where the packaging of what you're buying is just as impressive as the watches themselves. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed me sort of getting away from the norm and not showing you any watches on this particular episode. If you did like this episode, comment below and let me know if you want me to do another one of these, because believe me, there's plenty of packaging out there that I could show you for watches and jewelry both. That is very, very, very impressive, just as impressive as some of the stuff I picked out today. So comment below and let me know, and I'll see you guys next week for more watch reviews and other videos.